local security guard. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, up and Adam. If you're listening to this stream right now and you are on your way home, you're at your location. Hopefully you're not gonna get yourself in trouble listening to the stream. Or if you're like me, you're heading into work, I want to welcome you to the commute. This is where we do the dark car YouTube security guard thing. It's the popular way to do shit in the car, right? No production value. It's going to be straight flames, no chaser, right to the point. Get this morning started. Guys, listen, last night I hope you followed the live stream. We had a great conversation last night. We talked about a couple of things. Well, let's do kind of a recap. One of the things that we talked about was the situation that I had on Monday, where a homeless lady got pretty upset with your boy. She pulled out a very large knife, right? And pulling out this very large knife, I attempted to pepper spray this individual. But the pepper spray was brand new. I had utilized pepper spray on Saturday with another individual and had gone through the remaining little bit that I had in my kit. And so in a pinch, being an Amazon Prime member, I ordered the same Saber Red pepper spray. I think it's like the little MK4, I think is what it is, that little, stubby one. And it fits into this Orpaz holster attachment that I have. It's pretty neat. But anyway, for the first time, I get a damn pepper spray that's got like a safety tab in between there's kind of a little thumb lift that you put your finger through in the backside. There's like a tab between that and the plunger, and I'm assuming it's to make sure that no one inadvertently shoots off the pepper spray, in their pocket or something like that. So, I didn't do my due diligence and even think about looking for that because I've never had something like that come on it. Maybe this is something new that is a part of the Amazon design or something. But at any rate, when I go to retrieve the pepper spray and I go to deploy it, it doesn't work, right? So we talk about the situation of having enough kit to where you can deal with the problems without having to go to a more aggressive option, right? You don't have your pepper spray, clearly having a baton, having a taser, and these are, more egregious situations that you might have to deal with. Having more options gives you more options. So we talked about that. Another thing we talked about was the importance of security officers operating from a position of empathy. I know. A lot of you that listen to my channel, they're like, fuck that. You're too woo-woo. You're too woke. You're too new age. You gotta fucking make them fuck around and find out. You're too... Yeah, I know. I know a lot of you guys are like that, right? And you think that I'm too pacifist in the way that I approach things, but I'm telling you guys the reason why I do that and the reason why I feel that way, it's not because I don't agree with you or understand that in a lot of situations and people should be dealt with accordingly. It's that I understand from a position of running a business that the liability, even if you're justified, the liability 9 times out of 10, the juice is not worth the squeeze. I watched a video from someone yesterday who will remain nameless. And this person is extremely squared away. They're a good officer. I follow their content. They put out a lot of great content. But this person was talking about, security officers not wanting to go hands-on. They basically were saying, look, if you don't want to go hands-on, if you're not willing to get your hands dirty, you're not willing to get in there, then you serve no purpose. And you're not doing the industry, you're not doing the client, you're not doing the people that are working there, you're not doing them any justice by taking an attitude that you're going to work in a hands-off capacity. And this person said, even if that's a part of the post orders, he ultimately kind of relented and said, look, like if it's in your post orders, you got to do what you got to do because you don't want to lose your job. But he was very frustrated at the fact that, like, people were taking the stance that, you know, they weren't going to immediately go hands-on. So I think there was a lot of nuance in his conversation. And again, I don't have any negative feelings towards this person, but you know, when you own the business, when you run the business from that side, a lot of times we look at everything from the security officer side because we're the security officer. But when you're the owner, especially, you know, if we're not talking about a major box security company, we're talking about individual, you know, you own the company or your family owns the company, you know, your fucking mortgage is on the line. Like, you've probably put your house up to secure the funding to get this security company. You have put up your savings. You've put all of this time, all of this money, you've invested so much into this business. You're goddamn right you don't want people out there just going hands-on, even if 9 times out of 10 it's justified. So the conversation that we also had last night was about the importance of officers operating from a position of empathy, knowing that a lot of the people that you're dealing with, you're catching them on their absolute worst day. If you're not catching them on their worst day, you're catching them at a very low point in their life. And so understanding that this person is still a person. At the end of the day, it's still a person. At the end of the day, the fact that this lady pulled this large ass knife and said she was gonna fucking kill me multiple times and was ranting and raving, that's still an older female. So having an attitude of empathy and having an attitude of restraint was very important. We don't want to deal with situations with any more force than we have to, and we talked about that. And then lastly, we had a great conversation about 5 reasons why you should not take the advice of law enforcement officers or former law enforcement officers in relation to working security. And we talked about the fact that the security industry is an industry, number one. Law enforcement is a form of our government, right? It's the enforcement arm of our laws, of our city ordinances, of codes, all of these things. And those 2 things are similar, but they are extremely different. And generally, the large gap, the large difference between the 2 is the level of authority that police officers have that security doesn't have, right? And also the difference in the level of training that police officers have that security officers do not have. It's apples and oranges. It's more like oranges and tangerines. So a lot of times when you're dealing with a police officer who's giving advice, rightfully so, they're giving advice from their perspective, the perspective of a police officer. So in situations of going hands-on, situations of dealing with a threat, their ability to respond to it is going to be greatly different than our ability to respond to it. And I told a story about taking a training class. I took a training class at a shooting range, one of the many great shooting ranges that we have. And it was hosted by a former law enforcement officer. And we did a 21-foot roll kind of drill where you stand in this immersive environment. It's like 360 degrees. There's different screens and stuff around you, so you're in an immersive environment. And so they have the guy pop up on the screen, and he's holding a knife, and he's screaming and yelling, telling you he's going to kill you. And then they say, listen, when this person gets close enough to you, when you think that you need to draw your firearm, I want you to draw your firearm. So you have like a little SIRT pistol, and you shoot a laser, and it'll stop the threat, right? So I go through the drill, and at the point where I present the firearm and I take the shot, they stop the camera and they like turn it, like kind of like in the Matrix, they turn it like a 360 degrees, and you see the distance that this guy would have been to you. And this guy was like 7 feet before I drew my firearm. And so the former cop that's leading the drill, he's like, what the fuck were you waiting on? Like, when this guy was screaming, yelling, ranting, raving, and he had his knife out, why didn't you already have your firearm in SUL or low ready while you're giving this guy commands? And I'm trying to explain to him that that's not something that I can do in my capacity where I work for the company that I work. So, you know, you have different policies, you have different post orders, and that sounds crazy, but that's the reality of what we do. So those are some of the differences. Now, let's talk about this morning some of the benefits that you can get from taking advice from law enforcement officers. Now, my greatest mentor, guys, listen, I'm 45 years old, but I need mentors in my life. And, you know, the person that has been the most instrumental in helping me to become a better officer and actually to become a better man is a former police officer. I hold this person in very high esteem, very high respect, and you know, you just cannot I don't think that you can put into words how valuable someone who has experienced some of the things that he's experienced, how valuable that person can be to you across the board. So let's do that for number 5. Number 5 as to why you would want to take the advice of police officers is the wealth of experiences that they bring to the table. Your normal police officer, you know, even, you know, your run-of-the-mill average police officer with, you know, maybe say just like a year in the game, what these guys see, what they go through, what they experience on a day-to-day basis, like we can't even imagine it. The amount of things that they see in terms of the worst aspects of society, the things that they see in terms of just the politics of being involved in an organization, just being a grown man, you know, over the age of 30. I mean, they just offer such a wealth of experience and knowledge. There's probably nothing that you're going to deal with in security or in your life that these people haven't been a part of personally, or they haven't seen while being on the job. So that wealth of experience, just life experience, I think would be one great reason why you should follow the advice and the mentorship of a police officer. Number 4 would be access. Access to what? Access to anything. Police officers spend their whole day driving through the city, interacting with people, helping people, dealing with situations. Anything and everything that could pop up that you need in the security field, I guarantee you that police officer knows where you can get it. This might be as simple as equipment. This might be something as mundane as where to get your oil changed. It might be something as important as being able to find a firearm that's affordable. Anything and everything, guys. Their access to the entire area that you're working in terms of security, law enforcement, quasi, or just where you're working in terms of the city, their access is invaluable. And if you have someone that is in that environment that is comfortable with you and can vouch for you, there's so many doors that can be opened up for you. Number 3 would be those doors. Do you want to get into law enforcement? Do you want to be a police officer? Do you want to be a member of the sheriff's department? Do you want to work for an agency? You do not get into those doors. You do not get through those doors without the help of fellow police officers. Having a police officer that can reference for you, having a police officer that knows the chief at the location where you're trying to get hired. And think about all of the things that could disqualify you as a police officer. Anything and everything that could be in your background that could immediately, if that background investigator looks at your paperwork, could cause it to get tossed into the trash. Having that police officer that can make that phone call is worth its weight in gold. So important to have someone who's been there, someone who knows the system, someone who knows the people that are making the decisions, acting on your behalf. Number 2 is training. There is no better person to train you in terms of all aspects of what you do than a former police officer. Now, everybody, even me, has theory. Everybody and their grandmother has a YouTube channel. Everybody and their grandmother is selling something. Everybody is hawking something. Everybody has the answer. And what you'll find is that the answer that you get in any form of education is either incorrect or different compared to the reality of how it's applied. Handcuffing, defensive tactics. I was on Instagram yesterday, and you know, there's all these jiu-jitsu pages that are real popular on Instagram where they just like, they don't say anything, they just show you like a maneuver, right? So the guy's in the guy's in full guard and he does this like choke or whatever, and it looks really cool. It looks really cool for the camera, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a little 30-second clip, doesn't say anything, just applies this choke. And then I was reading the comments and everybody was like, yeah, okay, I've done that choke and this is called that, and they're all debating what it's called. And this guy goes, yeah, I'm a police officer for 15 years. It doesn't work that way. Like, he's gonna take his left hand, he's gonna do this, he's gonna take his leg and do that. This is what they do. Like, when they spaz, this is what's gonna happen. I was like, huh, that's a good, that was kind of the first thing that made me think about making this video this morning. Like, he was like going, yep, that's all good and dandy when that guy's laying there and allowing you to do that. When the guy's fighting for his life, when the guy doesn't want to go to jail, that's not what happens, right? So being able to have access to someone that can say, listen, in terms of firearms, this is the reality. In terms of taking a shot, this is the reality. In terms of, you know, what the aftermath is. You know, one of the great things about my mentor is that he has been involved in 2 on-the-job shootings. And he really hasn't ever gotten really in depth in terms of the shootings, but what I can tell you is that I know more about the weight that he carries from those shootings than any other aspect. And I think that what's been most important in my relationship with him is kind of seeing and understanding and feeling the pain and the heartbreak that he feels when he talks about it. And there's something about that situation that I don't know the totality of the circumstances, but I feel it. There's a weight to it. And it's always given me extra pause in situations where there have been 2 situations in the past, you know, almost 4 years where I have been extremely close to pulling my firearm. One situation where I was totally justified in pulling my firearm. And in a split second, the thought of what this person carries with him, having to have shot someone, that went through my mind. I can't explain it, guys. I can't explain it. There's a pain that this man carries, and he has done a great job of expressing to me without saying it how much I don't want that. I wish I could really like get across to you what that's like. Number 1, the relationship. Now that I think about it, the relationship with someone who's been there. You know, another person that I work a lot with, he's a former police officer. And he works very heavily in child sex trafficking rescue. And when you talk about tip of the spear, this guy is doing amazing things. His career in law enforcement opened this door, but his heart as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a grandfather. That's what has pushed him to get into this field and be a change agent for these young people that don't have anyone to help them. The stories that he has told me, the things that he shared with me, it's been life-changing. Having that relationship with this second person has also been extremely important to me in terms of my development as a person and as a man. And I don't think that you get that from someone at the level that I've gotten it from this person or my other mentor. If these people were stockbrokers or if they were, you know, construction workers. Something about being in situations over the amount of time, the amount of years that they were in law enforcement, the things that they've seen, the people that they've talked to, the lives that they've touched, it's invaluable. So we can easily talk about the importance of the difference between security and law enforcement. But I would be doing you guys a great disservice if I did not come on here and talk to you guys about how important it is to find mentors that have been in law enforcement, to gain and gather and learn from. We have some phenomenal police officers that are running YouTube channels and that are sharing information. Lean on those guys. Learn from them. Take their advice. But I really do push for all of you to find local retired police officers in your area and pick their brain. But more importantly, pick their heart. Because it'll make you a better security officer, and I guarantee you it'll make you a better man. I want you guys to go to work today. I want you to be safe. I'm praying for all of you this morning. I'm praying for you to have patience. I'm praying for you to be empathetic. Hopefully I don't get hit by this damn truck. Sorry. Praying for you to be empathetic. And if need be, God forbid, I'm praying for you to be quick and accurate. You guys go out there, you be safe, you watch your six, and you be great, all right? Be great.